Amazon jungle. Midnight. A low mist hovers just above the forest floor, glowing faintly under the moonlight. Insects hum like distant static, and the trees seem to breathe. The canopy above is a sky of tangled branches, hiding the stars, hiding the world. Somewhere, deep inside this living sea of green, a bird calls once, then silence. You've heard of the Amazon. You've seen the documentaries. But what if those rivers and vines hid more than just wildlife? What if, beneath the roots and leaves, there were stories, older than memory? The jungle doesn't speak, but it remembers. In this story, we won't rush. We'll drift like fog, step by step, deeper into the green. There will be no noise here, just breath and shadow and the gentle unfolding of secrets. And somewhere along the way, you may start to feel that something, someone, is watching. Long before satellites, before planes and explorers, the jungle was already old, ancient, complete. The people who lived here did not carve their names into stone. They didn't build pyramids. They didn't leave monuments we could easily find. But they left stories, whispered through generations, sung by firelight, passed in dreams. Tribes spoke of places where the trees grew in perfect lines, where spirits guarded old roads now buried in vines. They spoke of cities with golden roofs, swallowed whole by the forest. Of strangers who came from rivers of smoke, then vanished without a trace. And of beings, not quite human, who lived in the trees and listened. When European explorers arrived, they saw only what the jungle allowed. Mud, heat, insects. They didn't hear the voices in the leaves. They didn't ask what the forest had forgotten, or what it was trying to protect. Over time, the jungle closed in. Paths were lost. Villages disappeared. And the stories faded into the humming green silence. But they were never gone, only sleeping. They say the jungle has a heartbeat, not like ours, not the rhythm of blood and breath, but slower, deeper, almost impossible to hear unless you stop moving. If you wait long enough in one place, if you stop thinking and start listening, you might feel it. A pulse beneath the moss, a whisper in the vines. The tribes of the Amazon never called the forest nature. To them, it was alive, not just filled with life, but alive itself. A mother, a hunter, a spirit with moods and memory. They gave it names. They gave it stories. And in those stories lived the guardians, the watchers, the voices in the trees. Kurupara. He's one of the oldest. A protector, a trickster, and a killer, depending on who you ask. A small man with backward feet, so his tracks lead in the wrong direction. He lives deep in the forest, where no paths lead. Hunters who wander too far, who kill without need, they don't come back. Some say Kurupara leads them in circles until they forget their names. Others say he simply erases them, as if they were never born. But children of the tribes learn his name first. They leave offerings, a flower, a seed, a breath, and they walk lightly. Yasi. She is the moon. Not a goddess, not exactly, something softer. She walks the canopy at night, and her hair is made of starlight. They say she was once a woman who fell in love with a jaguar. When he was killed by men, she climbed into the sky to hide her grief. Now, when the moon is full and the river is calm, she returns. Fishermen who stare too long into her reflection may forget to breathe. Their boats drift into fog and are found days later, empty, still rocking. Boitata, a serpent made of fire. He comes after the rain, when the ground steams and lightning has opened the sky. Glowing like molten gold, he winds through the trees, his body never touching the ground. Some say he protects sacred places. Others say he burns away the lies. There are no drawings of Boitata, only stories. And when strange lights dance in the distance, flickering like torches with no hands to hold them, the elders shake their heads. Go inside, they say. Boitata is hungry tonight. These are not bedtime stories. They are warnings. They are memories. Not everything in the forest is meant to be found. Some things are meant to be left alone, watched only from a distance, spoken of in a whisper. But there are older stories still. Ones the elders only tell in the final moments of firelight. Ones that start with a question. Do you know why we never look for the old cities? Because once, they say, people did live in great cities here. Cities with stone roads and towers covered in gold. Places where birds were trained to carry messages, and trees grew in perfect rows. Places where the forest did not rule, but served. But something changed. Something happened. The forest woke up. It swallowed the roads. It pulled down the towers. It took the names, the songs, the maps, and it buried them. And those who remained, the survivors, made a choice. Never again. Never build too high. Never cut too much. Never ask the forest for more than it offers. That is why the tribes live as they do. Not because they lack knowledge, but because they remember. When missionaries came, they tried to write it all down. They called the stories myths, superstitions, pagan fears. But they didn't listen. They didn't stay long enough. Some of those missionaries went missing. Their journals were found months later, soaked in rain, pages half-eaten by mildew. But a few words remained. We heard drumming, but no one was there. The boy walked into the trees. He never came out. The air, it watches you. Today, satellite images show shapes beneath the canopy. Circles, grids, perfect symmetry where there should be only chaos. Trenches that don't follow rivers. Paths that go nowhere unless you know where to look. What if those stories were not warnings, but history? Every tribe has its own names for the spirits, its own songs, but the feeling is the same. You are not alone here. The forest is never empty. It listens. It chooses who may pass and who may disappear. For centuries, the jungle kept its secrets. Roots grew over stone. Vines erased walls. And time did the rest. To the early explorers, there was nothing here but endless green. They saw trees, rivers, mud, but no cities. And so they assumed there had never been any. But they were wrong. They just didn't look from high enough. In the last 2 decades, satellites began peering through the canopy. Infrared scans. LiDAR. New eyes that could see what human ones could not. And what they found changed everything. In western Brazil, massive shapes began to appear. Geoglyphs, huge, geometric designs cut into the earth. Squares, circles, interlocking patterns the size of football fields. They weren't recent. They had been there for over 1,000 years. Perfectly aligned, made with tools, and placed with purpose. Some were roads, straight as an arrow, cutting through terrain. Others were boundaries, walls, or ceremonial spaces. And some had no clear purpose at all. Just symbols in the dirt, too large to see unless you flew above them. Which means, the people who made them may never have seen them in full. They didn't make them for themselves. Maybe they made them for the sky. Near the Purus River, archaeologists found layers of ancient soil, terra preta. It was black, rich, and full of nutrients. Not natural. The people of the forest made it, a kind of man-made earth. They mixed charcoal, bone, and waste into the ground. And somehow, it lasted. Centuries later, plants still grow stronger in it. This wasn't primitive. This was engineering. Then came the grids. Patterns beneath the trees. Towns. Villages. Fields. Whole networks of human settlement, hidden in plain sight. LiDAR revealed dozens of them, each with roads, plazas, even canals. These weren't scattered tribes. This was a civilization. Organized, planned, connected, and it wasn't small. Some researchers now believe that millions of people may have lived in the Amazon before contact with Europeans. Not thousands, millions. Then came the plagues, diseases brought from across the ocean. And within a few generations, the jungle had taken it all back. Imagine this. A city dies. Its buildings are made of wood, clay, palm leaves. There's no stone, no metal, nothing the rain can't break. The people vanish, and in just 50 years, the forest grows over it. Trees rise, roots spread, birds nest where people once stood. In 100 years, there is nothing left. We didn't find the cities because we didn't know how to look. We were expecting stone and monuments. But here, the past is made of leaves. Still, the ground remembers. And sometimes, when the rains are heavy and the rivers flood, a root is washed away, and something ancient rises to the surface. A shard, a line of stone in the wrong place, a hill that isn't quite natural. Clues. Breadcrumbs. But there are other signs, stranger ones. Circular ponds that seem too perfect. Cleared paths that lead nowhere. Voices on old recordings, in languages no one can identify. Some say it's just coincidence. Some say it's folklore. But those who've been to the deepest parts of the jungle, where no map leads, where no GPS works, they speak differently. They talk of ruins, not grand ones, just glimpses. An arch made of vines, too symmetrical to be chance. A flat stone in the middle of nowhere, worn by bare feet. A wall, swallowed by moss. The jungle never shows everything. Only enough. Only what it wants. It begins with a sound. Not a voice. Not music. Just a change. The rustling of leaves shifts. Like something moving against the wind, but not quite with it. Birdsong fades. The air gets heavier. And every part of your body tells you, you're not alone. In the stories of the Amazon tribes, the forest doesn't just hide things. It reacts. To sound. To presence. To thought. Some places feel wrong. Not because they're dangerous, though they often are, but because they are watched. Guarded. There are groves no one enters. Clearings where even animals refuse to go. Trees that seem to lean just slightly inward, like they're listening. The people say, "Do not whistle in the forest. Do not say your name too loudly. Do not look into the vines after dark." Not because of superstition, but because the forest hears, and sometimes it answers. Some call them spirits. Some call them memories. Some say the jungle remembers the ones who died, and holds their voices in the bark of the trees. At night, in the deeper parts, explorers report strange things. Footsteps in the underbrush, with no one there. A sudden laugh, not human, not animal. Tense shaking when the wind is still. Heat, when it should be cold. Cold, when it should be warm. And always, the feeling that something is watching. In the 1980s, a research team spent 3 weeks mapping a remote river bend. Only 2 came back. The others, missing, presumed lost. One survivor refused to speak of what happened. He only wrote a single sentence in his journal. "It warned us. We stayed anyway." Not all stories end in fear. Some tell of spirits who protect. Of children lost in the woods, guided back by soft humming. Of light in the trees when the night is too dark. But even then, there are rules. You do not speak to the spirits. You do not touch the gifts left at their trees. You do not ask their names. Because once you know a spirit's name, it might know yours. There are sounds only the jungle makes. A low moan when the air pressure shifts. A distant whistle that no bird could mimic. A rhythm, too slow to be drums. Too natural to be man-made. And yet, unmistakably deliberate. Some believe it's just wind. Just animals. Just nature. But the tribes say, when the forest calls, you don't answer. You listen, and you wait for it to fall silent. Because the jungle isn't quiet. It just waits. And when it whispers, you're already inside its story. Deep within the Amazon, there are places where sunlight barely touches the forest floor. These are not just dense patches of trees, they are realms of shadow and silence, where the usual sounds of the jungle fade into an almost unnatural stillness. The air grows cooler, the humidity thickens, and a strange energy seems to pulse through the roots and leaves. Among the tribes, these places are often considered sacred and dangerous. They are home to the oldest trees, whose trunks rise like ancient pillars, covered in thick moss and twisting vines. These trees are not merely plants, they are the guardians of memory, the keepers of stories older than any written word. People do not enter lightly. Some will avoid these places altogether, believing that to disturb the sacred is to invite the forest's wrath. Animals too seem to sense the difference. Hunters report that even jaguars and tapirs avoid certain groves. Birds fall silent, and insects disappear. The usual life of the jungle pauses, as if waiting. There are stories of travelers who wandered into these dark zones and returned changed, disoriented, pale, speaking of visions and whispers only they could hear. Some claim these areas act as portals, thin places where the boundary between the physical world and the spirit realm blurs. Time may stretch or fold. Moments feel like hours, and hours like moments. The tribes have names for these places, often describing them as gateways or passages to other worlds. Rituals and offerings are made to appease the spirits who dwell there. No one goes without permission, and no one stays too long. In some myths, these sacred trees are the ancestors themselves, transformed and rooted in place to watch over the forest for eternity. Their branches hold the memories of entire peoples, and their leaves whisper secrets on the wind. The concept of dark zones in the jungle is not just folklore. Scientific studies have found areas with unusual electromagnetic fields, strange plant growth, and inexplicable animal behavior. Some researchers call them ecological anomalies, but to the tribes, these are living signs of the forest's deeper mysteries. These sacred places are intertwined with the land's history, connected to the lost cities, the vanished peoples, and the spirits that continue to watch from the shadows. Whether these zones are natural or something beyond, they remind us that the Amazon is not merely a jungle, but a living, breathing world full of secrets still waiting to be uncovered. For centuries, the dense Amazon forest seemed impenetrable, a barrier too thick for humans to conquer. Yet beneath its thick canopy, hidden from the eyes of the world, lie traces of civilizations long forgotten, cities swallowed by time and nature, waiting patiently to be rediscovered. Archaeologists equipped with modern tools like LiDAR have peeled back the layers of green, revealing complex networks of settlements that challenge everything we thought we knew about the pre-Columbian Americas. These lost cities are not mere villages, they are sophisticated urban centers with plazas, roads, and defensive structures, suggesting advanced social organization and cultural richness. One such discovery is the site known as Cujicu, hidden deep within the Brazilian Amazon. Excavations here uncovered evidence of a sprawling settlement that could have housed tens of thousands of inhabitants. Intricate road systems connected communities, and large earthworks hint at defensive strategies against invaders or wild animals. Pottery, tools, and even agricultural terraces paint a picture of a thriving society that lived in harmony with the forest. What makes Cujicu and other similar sites especially fascinating is their correlation with local indigenous legends. Many tribes speak of great cities lost beneath the trees, inhabited by ancestors who possessed knowledge and power now forgotten. They tell stories of white men who once walked the jungle before disappearing, of gods who taught humans how to cultivate the land, and of mysterious disappearances that echo in oral histories. Another remarkable discovery is the ancient city of Marajora, situated on Marajo Island near the mouth of the Amazon River. Known for its elaborate pottery and unique social structure, Marajora thrived long before European contact. Its complex art and architecture suggest a deeply spiritual culture with sophisticated craftsmanship and trade networks extending far beyond the island. These cities, once vibrant and bustling, were eventually abandoned. The reasons remain a subject of debate. Climate change, disease, conflict, or perhaps the slow reclaiming power of the jungle itself may have played roles. What remains certain is that these places were centers of culture and knowledge, far removed from the primitive image often attributed to pre-Columbian Amazonian societies. The intertwining of archaeological findings and tribal mythology offers a fascinating lens through which to view these lost civilizations. While science uncovers physical evidence of walls and roads, legends breathe life into these ruins, filling them with stories, spirits, and meaning. Many tribes still regard these sites as sacred, places where the veil between the living and the ancestors is thin. Rituals continue to be held, and the respect for the land's history endures. It reminds us that history is not only written in stone and soil, but also in the stories passed down through generations. The forest may hide these cities, but it does not forget them. Deep in the heart of the Amazon and its surrounding regions, archaeologists and linguists have uncovered a baffling array of symbols etched into stone, painted on pottery, and carved into ancient trees. These enigmatic markings do not resemble any known writing system, leaving experts puzzled and fascinated. Could these be remnants of a lost language? Or perhaps a symbolic code, used by a civilization far older than the ones recorded in history? Among the dense foliage, petroglyphs depicting animals, celestial bodies, and abstract shapes cover rock faces. Some appear deliberately organized, suggesting they were part of a coherent system of communication. Yet despite decades of study, no one has been able to fully decipher their meaning. The mystery deepens with the discovery of artifacts bearing inscriptions that seem to blend multiple cultural influences. Some symbols echo those found thousands of miles away, on different continents, hinting at ancient connections that defy conventional understanding of human migration and trade. Local indigenous peoples have their own interpretations. Many consider these symbols sacred, imbued with spiritual power or ancestral knowledge. Elders pass down stories explaining that these markings are messages from the spirits, warnings or guidance left behind to protect the forest and its secrets. Efforts to decode these symbols face numerous challenges. The languages that once gave them meaning have vanished, swallowed by time and cultural shifts. Unlike scripts like Egyptian hieroglyphs or Sumerian cuneiform, there are no bilingual inscriptions, no Rosetta Stone to unlock their secrets. Researchers employ advanced technologies, from 3D scanning to AI pattern recognition, hoping to detect repeating motifs or structures that could reveal syntax or grammar. Some have proposed that the symbols represent an early form of proto-writing, a system conveying ideas and concepts rather than full speech. There are also hypotheses that these signs were used for ritual purposes, not everyday communication. Perhaps they were magical or religious symbols, designed to connect the physical world with the spiritual realm. One of the most intriguing aspects is the possibility that these lost languages once connected distant cultures. Some scholars point to similarities between Amazonian symbols and ancient scripts found in Africa, Oceania, and Southeast Asia. Could there have been contact between these far-flung peoples, centuries before recorded history? While such ideas remain speculative, they open the door to new ways of thinking about human history. The jungle, with its endless layers of growth and decay, may still conceal stories waiting to rewrite our understanding of civilization. Despite the unknowns, these mysterious symbols remind us that the Amazon was never a blank canvas. It was a living archive, a place where ideas, beliefs, and knowledge were recorded in ways that survive only as faint echoes today. The Amazon jungle is vast, dense, and unforgiving. For centuries, it has swallowed explorers, adventurers, and researchers alike, leaving behind only whispers and unanswered questions. Stories of mysterious disappearances have woven themselves into the fabric of the forest's mythology, blurring the lines between fact and legend. Countless expeditions have ventured into the heart of the jungle, many never to return. Some vanished without a trace, others left behind belongings strewn in chaotic patterns, as if their owners fled in panic. The jungle offers no mercy to the unprepared, but some disappearances defy even the harshest explanations. Among the local communities, there are tales of people being taken by spirits or entities that dwell deep within the forest. They speak of strange lights hovering above the treetops, voices calling in the night, and unexplainable sounds that seem to come from nowhere. These phenomena are often dismissed by outsiders as superstition, yet eyewitness accounts remain chillingly consistent. In the 1970s, a group of researchers studying the remote Javari Valley reported seeing unusual orbs of light drifting silently among the trees. Their recordings captured inexplicable sounds, low-frequency hums and bursts of static that had no natural source. Shortly after, several members of the team disappeared under mysterious circumstances, fueling rumors of the jungle's supernatural defenses. Even modern technology struggles in these regions. GPS devices lose signal, radios cut out, and compasses spin erratically. Some explorers describe a sensation of time distortion, where minutes stretch into hours, or days pass in what feels like moments. Psychological effects compound the physical dangers. Isolation, the oppressive environment, and the unknown can cause paranoia, hallucinations, and disorientation. But beyond the scientific explanations, there remains an undeniable sense that the jungle is alive, watching, interacting, and sometimes interfering. These stories are not limited to chance encounters. Some areas have earned dark reputations, known locally as places where the forest swallows souls. Villagers avoid these spots, especially after sunset, believing that those who enter risk vanishing forever. Some researchers suggest that the disappearances might be linked to hidden cave systems, treacherous sinkholes, or undiscovered natural hazards. Others propose more speculative theories, interdimensional portals, ancient curses, or even extraterrestrial involvement. Whether rooted in reality or myth, the Amazon's disappearances and unexplained phenomena remain a powerful reminder of how much the jungle still conceals. It challenges our understanding and beckons the curious to explore, but with caution. When we think of ancient civilizations, images of stone pyramids and monumental architecture often come to mind. But beneath the thick canopy of the Amazon, evidence points to a different kind of ingenuity, one that blended human creativity with the environment, producing technologies and knowledge that remain mysterious to this day. Archaeologists have uncovered intricate irrigation systems, engineered soil known as terra preta, and complex earthworks that suggest a deep understanding of agriculture and ecology. Terra preta, or black earth, is a man-made fertile soil that retains nutrients far longer than natural soils. Its creation involved mixing charcoal, bone, and organic waste, effectively turning the rainforest floor into an enduring garden. This soil allowed ancient Amazonian peoples to sustain large populations in a place previously thought unsuitable for extensive agriculture. It reveals a relationship with the land that was not exploitative, but harmonious and sustainable, a stark contrast to modern deforestation. Beyond agriculture, there are artifacts that challenge our assumptions about ancient technology. Polished stone tools with precision cuts, ceramic objects with complex glazes, and metalwork displaying techniques that should have been impossible for their time. Some ancient pottery shows signs of advanced kilns capable of reaching extremely high temperatures. Others bear mysterious symbols that might have encoded knowledge or served ritual functions. In the dense jungle, where preservation is difficult, the survival of such artifacts is remarkable. There are also tales passed down through generations about lost knowledge, secret techniques and wisdom given by spirits or ancient ancestors. Stories of people who could shape the forest, heal with herbs unknown to science, or craft tools that defy explanation. Occasionally, explorers stumble upon strange objects that do not fit the timeline. Carved stones with perfectly straight lines, metal fragments with unknown alloys, or devices resembling gears and cogs. These findings ignite debate among scientists and enthusiasts alike, sparking questions about forgotten chapters in human history. Some propose that these technologies were inherited from an earlier, advanced civilization, one that rose and fell before recorded history began. Others argue that indigenous cultures developed these skills independently, in close dialogue with nature. Whatever the truth, it is clear that the Amazon holds secrets of ancient knowledge. Knowledge that could redefine our understanding of technology, sustainability, and human innovation. The question that haunts every investigation into ancient Amazonian civilizations is simple yet profound. Why did they vanish? Across the dense jungle lie ruins of cities, villages, and complex networks that once bustled with life. Today, these places are silent, reclaimed by vines and earth. The answers to their disappearance are as tangled as the forest itself, blending environmental, social, and possibly supernatural factors. One widely accepted theory points to climate change. Archaeological evidence suggests that around 1,000 years ago, the Amazon experienced periods of severe drought, disrupting agriculture and forcing populations to migrate or adapt. Reduced food production would have strained societies, breaking down social structures and making communities vulnerable to external threats. Droughts may have also weakened the forest, making it easier for the jungle to reclaim human settlements. As people left, the cycle of decay accelerated, erasing visible traces over centuries. Disease is another likely culprit. Just as European contact brought epidemics that devastated native populations, earlier outbreaks of unknown illnesses could have decimated these ancient groups. Without immunity or medical knowledge to combat such diseases, entire populations might have been wiped out or scattered. Some theories speculate about chronic exposure to environmental toxins or parasites that undermined health over generations, contributing to societal collapse. Conflict and invasion also feature in hypotheses. Rival tribes or external groups may have attacked and destroyed settlements. Warfare could have led to mass displacement or absorption of smaller cultures by dominant powers. Artifacts showing signs of violence, such as fortified structures or weapons, support this idea. However, evidence remains inconclusive and often debated. A less tangible explanation lies in cultural and religious transformation. As belief systems evolved, some communities may have chosen to abandon older cities in favor of new sacred sites, following spiritual guidance or prophetic warnings. This theory is supported by shifts in artifact styles, burial customs, and ritual practices found in archaeological layers. Regardless of the reasons, the disappearance of these civilizations remains a mystery that invites ongoing exploration. Each new discovery adds pieces to the puzzle, but also reveals new questions. The jungle keeps its secrets well, challenging us to look beyond the surface and consider the complex interplay of nature, culture, and fate. Though centuries have passed since the great civilizations of the Amazon disappeared, their legacy endures. Today, the indigenous peoples who call these lands home carry forward traditions, stories, and wisdom that connect them to their ancient ancestors in profound ways. These communities, though diverse, share a deep respect for the forest, not merely as a resource, but as a living entity with its own spirit and history. Oral traditions tell of mighty cities swallowed by the jungle, of gods and heroes who walked the land, and of knowledge passed down through generations. This living memory acts as a bridge between the past and present, helping to preserve cultural identities despite centuries of external pressures, colonization, and modernization. Many indigenous languages themselves contain traces of ancient cosmologies and historical events, encoded in myth and ritual. Through song, dance, and storytelling, knowledge of medicinal plants, ecological stewardship, and spiritual beliefs has been safeguarded. Anthropologists working closely with tribes have noted that some myths align intriguingly with archaeological findings, hints of lost cities, sacred sites, and even the cycles of climate change. Moreover, rituals performed in remote villages often echo the reverence once shown to the great sacred trees, rivers, and mountains, places believed to hold the essence of ancestors and the natural world. In recent decades, efforts have been made to document and protect this intangible heritage. Yet the pressures of deforestation, mining, and cultural assimilation threaten to erase these fragile links. Activists and indigenous leaders fight to maintain their lands and traditions, aware that losing them would sever the last connection to an ancient world. At the same time, a growing number of researchers and explorers are beginning to appreciate the value of indigenous knowledge, not just as folklore, but as a vital key to understanding the Amazon's past and guiding its future. This ongoing dialogue between science and tradition enriches our view of history. It reminds us that civilization is not solely measured by ruins or artifacts, but by the stories, values, and relationships that endure. As we listen to the echoes of the past through the voices of those who live in the forest today, we gain insight into a world where humans and nature were intertwined in ways we are only beginning to comprehend. The vast Amazon rainforest stands as a silent witness to the passage of time, guarding secrets older than any written history. Its trees, rivers, and soil have absorbed countless stories of thriving civilizations, mysterious disappearances, and knowledge lost to the ages. Though many chapters remain hidden beneath layers of green, the evidence uncovered so far challenges our assumptions about human history in this region. It shows us a world of complexity, innovation, and deep connection to nature. The jungle continues to reclaim what once belonged to these ancient peoples, weaving their legacy into its living tapestry. In the quiet rustle of leaves, the murmur of streams, and the calls of unseen creatures, one can almost hear echoes of those who came before. This is a land where mystery endures, inviting those who listen carefully to uncover the truths whispered by time.